What's going on, everyone? Farmer Z here, and welcome back to the Farming Simulator 22 gameplay how-to series. We're here today on the Erlengrot map. I'm sure I butchered that word. It's one of the base game maps, and I don't say it near as eloquently as djgoham, but you know what I mean. So we're here today, and we're going to run an experiment. What experiment, you ask? We're going to dive into animals, specifically cows and horses today. So Farming Simulator 22 offers different breeds of animals, and they've revamped the animal system by also offering different age within each breed. So I want to break down what the productivity and cost of each animal type or breed type will be and provide you with some analysis so you know what you're investing in. So in this pen, I bought a 0-month-old Holstein. I'm going to fill up each pen with one animal, right? So one 0-month Holstein in this pen, and then one in the next pen, which I think will be a 3-month-old. Let's go check. Sorry, 12 months. And then the following pen will have an 18-month Holstein. Then I'm going to do 3 more pens with a 0-month-old Angus, a 12-month-old Angus, and an 18-month-old Angus. I am constrained in terms of how many animal pens I can put on a map, so I cannot do all 3 of the brown Swiss or all 3 of the limousine. However, when you read the description for an Angus, it says cows provide you with milk and can be sold for profit. This type is mainly used for breeding. When you read the description of a limousine, it has the exact same description. So I'm only going to buy one limousine. I'm going to buy an 18-month-old limousine, and I'm going to put it in a dedicated pen as well. And then we're going to compare the cost and production of the 18-month-old limousine versus the 18-month-old Angus and see if it's the same, which I assume it might be because the description is the same. And then I'll do the same for the brown Swiss. Again, reading the description, it says cows provide you with milk and can be sold for profit. This type is mainly used for dairy farming. When you look at a Holstein, it's the exact same description. Once again says this type is mainly used for dairy farming. So I'll do the same. I'll get one 18-month-old brown Swiss and compare it to the cost and productivity of the 18-month-old Holstein, and we'll see if there are any differences between Holstein and brown Swiss, and then if there are any differences between Angus and limousine. If there are differences, I'll try to figure out what those differences are on a percentage basis, and then we can apply the same percentage difference to the 12-month-old limousine versus the 12-month-old Angus, the 0-month-old limousine versus the 0-month-old Angus, and so on and so forth with the Holstein and the brown Swiss cows. I hope that all makes sense. I think it will at the end when I provide the analysis. Let's get into it. All right, so we need our 12-month-old Holstein in this pen. I have my game speed on 0.5x right now because I want to get everything set up and have an opportunity to feed them without them dying on us. And here's our 18-month-old Holstein. Okay, I've got, of course, one tractor and a tipper trailer, and then I bought this silo, which is a mod, and it supplies everything. So this is going to give me an easy opportunity to buy food as I please so that I can quickly purchase the food, keep them fed, and focus in simply on productivity and costs in this series. Okay, so I'm empty, and I've used in this pen 12,099 liters of total mixed ration. I'm going to keep a log, a daily log, of all food used in each pen, all food consumed in each pen, and byproducts produced, so milk, slurry, etc. I will use this log at the end of this process to understand the cost involved for each cow, both to purchase and to raise, and I'll also be providing the profits involved with each cow. All right, so this one now has 12,100 liters. This is the 18-month-old, and let's get the last cow fed, which is the newborn, the 0-month-old. Okay, I put 2 trailers full in each of the 3 cow pens, which amounted to 24,200 liters. Let's get them filled up with straw as well. and then we'll move over to the horses. And I'll repeat same process for the other cow types as well. All right, so let's purchase a horse now. Every horse type is pretty much the same, so I'm just going to pick one and roll with it, and we're going to assume the same cost and profit for each horse type. I will be keeping up with the riding and the cleaning and keep them in peak productivity to make sure that we get the best results possible. I went ahead and loaded up with oats, so let's get these put into the pen. We'll come back with some hay and some straw as well. And while this is dumping, the feeding system for horses has base food, which includes either oats or sorghum, and hay. I'm going to put both in there, and of course straw as well. Correction, I will not put both in there. It looks like there is no more capacity because the base food is full. All right, so we have our horses set up and we have our Holsteins set up. I'm going to repeat process for the other cow types that we're going to add to this experiment here, and then I will bring you back in after a little bit of progress, and we'll see how things are moving along. All right, so I got everything set up. I finished getting all of the rest of the animals, and we are now 6 months in the future. So welcome to the future. Make sure and wear a jacket, because apparently it snows in the future. And let's have a peek at how things have gone. So the first animal would be our brown Swiss. We bought this cow when it was 18 months old. We spent $1,550 on this cow. It has a current value of $1,500. It has produced 600 liters of milk, 1,468 liters of slurry, and it is at a 60% reproduction rate. So it's getting closer to reproducing. It has not consumed that much TMR or straw yet. I haven't filled up these pens since the initial setup. So I think once you get an animal in these pens, it allows you to fill the straw and the food to the capacity of the pen. That's my guess. You know, since I just have one animal in each of these pens, I filled it up. It's made to accommodate a higher capacity, so we're not putting a big dent in the food or the straw. I'm not complaining because it's saving me a little bit of work from refilling their food and straw every day, but just wanted to give that note. The next animal I'm going to skip ahead to would be our Holstein, which is now 24 months of age, but it was the same as the brown Swiss, 18 months of age when we bought it. And interesting here, all the statistics are the same. So its value is $1,500, just like the brown Swiss, and it has produced 600 liters of milk, 1,468 liters of slurry, and is also at a 60% reproduction rate. So that confirms what I suspected going into this, which is that the Holstein and the brown Swiss breeds are going to be pretty much a carbon copy of one another from a cost and productivity standpoint. All right, let's move next to the middle-aged Holstein. So this is 18 months of age now. It was 12 months when we purchased it, and it has produced 600 liters of milk, 1,255 liters of slurry, and it is now at a 10% reproduction rate. So this milk number is the exact same number as the older cows that we purchased. So important to note when you are considering a 12-month-old milk cow versus an 18-month-old milk cow, they are going to produce at an equivalent pace. It is not producing slurry as fast as the older cows, and it is not approaching reproduction as fast as the older cows. So it will produce milk at the same pace, but there are pros and cons as well. The pros being that they're cheaper to buy initially, the cons being that they don't reproduce as fast or produce as much slurry. All right, and then our last dairy cow, which would be the now 6-month-old Holstein. We bought it when it was a newborn, 0 months old. It hasn't produced any milk, which makes sense because it hasn't made it to reproduction age yet. It has produced 433 liters of slurry, and it's not approaching reproduction yet. It's still at 0% reproduction because it needs to get closer to 18 months of age before it will reproduce. All right, now let's look at our beef cows, which will be the Limousine and the Angus. Before I get into this, I want to let you all know I have put some estimates together for what I think it costs per liter to feed both the cows and the horses that we're looking at here. So watch till the end of this video because this is just a quick update, but when I get to the end of the experiment here, part of the analysis that I will provide is total feed costs. And so we can have a look at the total profit equation for each animal, factoring in what it costs to feed and care for them. So with that said, moving forward with our update, let's have a look at the Limousine. It has produced no milk, which makes sense, it's just a beef cow. It has produced 1,468 liters of slurry, and it is at a 60% reproduction rate. So now when I look at our same aged Angus, it has produced the exact same amount of slurry, 1,468 liters, and it is at the exact same reproduction rate, 60%. So once again, the assumption that Limousine and Angus would be the exact same in terms of the statistics on cost and productivity seems to be checking out, just like that assumption that the Brown Swiss and the Holstein would be the exact same. All right, and next is our 18-month-old Angus, which was 12 months old when we bought it. It has produced 1,255 liters of slurry and is at a 10% reproduction rate now. So once again, just like with the other cows, pros and cons of buying a 12-month-old versus an 18-month-old. The pro being that it's cheaper initially, but the con being that it will not reproduce as fast or produce as much. And the last of the cows here would be our 6-month-old Angus, which was a newborn, 0 months old when we bought it. It has produced 433 liters of slurry, and the reproduction is not yet progressing past 0%. Again, we need to get a little bit closer to the 18-month mark. All right, and then looking at the horse. We are at a $1,166 value on a $500 initial purchase. I bring up the value versus the purchase price with the horse because really that's the only benefit of a horse. They don't have byproducts that they produce like cows do. So you're really just buying them to raise them and sell them. So we are in the green. We have more than doubled our money so far with the horse. I have kept it ridden every day. I have kept it cleaned every day. So you can see all the statistics are all the way up. It's 100% health, 100% cleanliness, 100% fitness, and 100% daily riding. Now, an important thing to note, and I overlooked this earlier, the horses require base food and hay. When I looked at the bottom, I saw that oat or sorghum suffice as the base food, and hay is a secondary food. And when you look at effectiveness, oat and sorghum is a 60% effectiveness, and hay has a 40% effectiveness. But a very important part that I missed is the last line there before it goes down to the oat and the hay, which is feed them a mix of the following foods, and then it says, for best results, provide all these types. Pay close attention to that, everybody, because the first day of this experiment, I thought, okay, I'll just feed them the base food only. The health was staying pegged at 0. So the next day I put hay in there and the health started skyrocketing. It shot up pretty fast. So it is crucial with the horses to feed them both food types for their health to improve. With the cows, however, you'll see it says for best results, provide the most effective food type. So you can simply feed them total mixed ration. You can feed them one food type. You don't have to worry about the others with the cows. Not the case with the horses. All right, I'm going to go play in the snow for a little bit and move this forward, and we will see where we're at then, and I'll give you another update. All right, my friends, the results are in. I have simulated a full 27 months and got some interesting interesting information, perhaps inconclusive with the horses, but let me start running through it. So with a 0-month-old dairy cow, the gross profits at the end of the 27-month period are $4,485. The net profits at the end of that same period is $2,181. The difference is gross profits are simply what you would be able to sell the cow for, plus the milk profits it would have produced for you and the slurry profits it would have produced for you. With net profits, it's that same number minus the initial cost of your investment, so the initial cost of the cow, and the costs of feeding the cow, so straw and feed costs. So this is intended to show you the difference that you would expect to make on these animals if you're able to produce enough crops to feed your own animals or to be self-reliant versus if you have to buy feed. So as you can see, it's a pretty substantial difference there. Now, before I move on to the next cow type, I will say I had to use some assumptions in terms of milk profits, slurry profits, and feed and straw costs. I used bale costs for my feed and straw calculations, and then I'm on the Erlengrad map, so I used what I think is a fair average of milk prices and slurry prices to come up with a milk and slurry number. But full disclosure, this could vary on your save game. You could be on a different map that runs a different cost or pricing system. And again, costs and prices fluctuate. So that's not steady, that's not stable. I used kind of a rounded average, and you might buy your animals at a different time of year than I bought them, which would put you in a different cost fluctuation cycle. So full disclosure there, these are just estimates, but the difference you would have in price, I do not believe would be meaningful enough to skew this analysis in any way, shape, or form in terms of what the most profitable animals are here and when you should expect profits from them. All right, next we had our 12-month-old dairy cow. The gross profits at the end of our 27-month period are $6,478. Net profits would be $2,479. And finally, here we have our 18-month-old dairy cow. And guys, when I say dairy, I mean Holstein or Brown Swiss. In this analysis that we ran, the Holstein and the Brown Swiss cows are carbon copies of one another. They produce the exact same. So our gross profits at the end of the 27-month simulation period are $6,368 for the 18-month-old and $1,819 on net profits. All right, moving on to the beef cows, which would be the Limousin or the Angus. The 0-month-old beef cow had a gross profit of $3,665 at the end of the simulation period and a net profit of $643. These beef cows eat and consume quite a bit more, so when we're looking at the net profit, it erodes quite a bit if you are buying feed for these. And here we have our 12-month-old beef cow. Gross profits, $4,251. Net profit, -$655. So again, buying feed really starts to impact the profit equation when you're using beef cows. And for our last cow, our 18-month-old beef cow, $4,001 of gross profits and -$1,462 in net profits. And then for the last animal I'm reviewing in this video is the horse. Gross profits would be $3,850. Net profits, again, we're in the negative with horses as well. If we have to buy feed for them, we're at -$387. Horses are based entirely on their value. They do not produce any products like the cows do, so you don't have that extra production to help with the profit equation, and you have to spend the extra time riding them. All right, so that was just a high-level rundown. Now there's a lot of data on this. I'm not going to run through all of it. I do want to give you my main takeaways. First main takeaway, dairy cows are definitely the most profitable, specifically the 12-month-old dairy cows. The reason for this is that milk production starts at 13 months of age on all cows. So when you buy a 12-month dairy cow, they're producing milk almost immediately. They produce the same amount of milk as an 18-month-old dairy cow. So there's no difference in milk production on a 12-month versus an 18-month. So you're making that same profit on either. Another reason I say 12-month dairy cow is preferred over 18-month is because their value maxes out at $1,500 and it starts to decline after 36 months of age. So the 18-month-old dairy cow starts to decline in value faster, and it consumes more. So you're spending more on feed costs and straw costs. And then the last thing that I want to note with cows is that the 0-month-old or the 12-month-old start reproducing at 27 months. So you'll see the 0-month produced on the 27th month, the 12-month-old produced on the 27th month, and again on the 37th month. However, the 18-month-old dairy cow does not produce until 1 month later on the 28th and 38th month. So you got to wait a little bit longer for reproduction with an 18-month-old dairy cow. Now, as far as reproduction goes for this video, I sold any produced cow immediately after it was born. However, this is where the profits really start to multiply, is by keeping those new cows produced by the existing cows, and then you start to multiply the money you're making. So with that said, I would always recommend selling any cow after it's reproduced for the second time. That way you're not losing value on that cow. So you make your money back on that cow, and that one cow has now provided you with 2. All right, and then the next key takeaway. Beef cows would be the next most profitable in this group. And once again, specifically the 12-month-old. Again, the 12-month-old and the 0-month-old reproduce at 27 months and 37 months. The 18-month-old produces a month later at 28 and 38. And then when we look at the beef cows' maximum value, once again, their value maxes out at 36 months. So I would recommend waiting until that 1 more month until that second reproduction, and then selling them while their value is still high. And then final takeaway, once again, are horses. They're the least profitable and require the most work and produce no byproducts. So horses are an investment that will take a lot of work and an incredible amount of patience to really make meaningful money on. And then final notes, just real quick, milk production does seem to stay pretty steady around the 112 to 113 liters per month mark. And slurry production seems to peak right here around the 19 month of age mark for all cows. And that's around 250 to 260 liters per month. So one closing piece of advice, when you look at the gross profits versus the net profits, it is always worth it to have an established farm and make sure you're able to produce the crops necessary to feed your animals rather than buying your animals. That is absolutely going to maximize your profits with any animal you buy. If you like this content and content like it, please consider subscribing to join the FarmerZ channel. Make sure you don't miss any of the upcoming videos by clicking the notification button. As always, thank you for spending your time here with me today. FarmerZ out.